welcome to Take Fam. Today we'll be talking about taking the first step. Martin Luther King once said, take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase, but you just take the first step. And I'm here to encourage you to take the first step. So ladies, welcome to Take Fam. And I would like to share a story about myself and how I took the first step. When I was growing up, I must have been, 11 when I went to boarding school. But what my parents didn't know and what I didn't know was that I had an eye disorder. Yes, I wear glasses, but till that time and many years before that time and many years after, no one knew that I was blind as a bat. You see, I was born with this disease called astigmatism, and I had a short-sightedness, which means that I couldn't see to save my own life. But I knew nothing else. I knew nothing else. That was all I ever knew. So I did not realize what it was like to actually see things clear and crisp. Anyway, you will soon find out why I'm sharing that story. Because as I was in boarding school, something very weird happened. When I sat in the front of the class, I would do very well as a student. But when I was taken out from the front of the class to the back of the class during the rotation, I failed everything. What the teachers didn't know and what I didn't know was I couldn't even see to save my own life. And I didn't even share this with anyone. So was it any wonder when it came to the GCSE that I failed everything? It all went really bad because as the years goes on, my teachers begin to think that I was not capable of studying. So I was put in the wrong classes, I was given the wrong classes, and I wasn't given enough attention. So my first attempt at my GCSEs, I failed them. But do you know that I've always had this desire to be a doctor? I thought that was what I wanted to do. And here I was, my first results, complete fail. Not only could I not be a doctor, I couldn't be anything else. So we took the first step. I had to recognize that I had to do it all over again. So sometimes taking the first step, if all the time taking the first steps is not going to be pleasant. And so I went back and I did my GCSEs. It was during that time that my auntie accidentally discovered that I was blind as a bat and I couldn't see anything. I remember my first visit at the opticians. The optician was so surprised. He screamed out loud, "Is this your very first time you're having glasses? That can't be right. Where have you been all your life?" And so I learned from that growing up that just because I had a situation going in the background meant that affected my outcome. So right now, the first step I did was to acknowledge that I had a problem. The first problem was I couldn't see. The second problem was I failed my GCSEs. I have to acknowledge that I have to work extra hard to retake the test. So taking the first step in faith is all we need to do. If you want to achieve your goals, you have to take those first steps. Those steps don't have to be big, but they have to take you towards the right direction. So that is what I mean when I talk about taking the first step. Taking the first step means learning, acknowledging that you need to keep on learning. I acknowledged even at that time that I needed to go back and learn. And do you know what? I am now a scientist. Honestly, if you were to talk to any of my teachers back then in that secondary school, I was the most unlikely person to be a scientist. I'm the most unlikely person. I failed all the classes I took until I had the self-realization and I decided to take the first step. So I ask you, as we go through this class, to begin to think about the first steps that you need to take. For me, it was I need to go back and receive these exams so I can get a place in a university. For some of you, it's going to be slightly different. So let's explore that for the next 5 minutes. There is a story about a group of spies in the Bible that were asked to go and spy out on a land that they believed that God had given them. And as they went to this land, all 7 of them, they found people on the land, obstacles. On your journey to taking your first step towards your goals, there will be obstacles. There will be people there that might not support your dreams, that might not believe in you, that might not think you've got the grit to bring it home. But that is why I'm here, to tell you that you can choose to believe in yourself and take the first step that you need towards those dreams. So the next thing you need to know is that you have to have a clear understanding of what your dreams are. At this age, I didn't know what I wanted to be, but at least I knew I wanted to be something like. So I'm going to encourage you in the chat box. I want you to begin to write in the chat box some of the things that are dropping in your mind right now. Some of you might not know what you want to be, but at least you know what you don't want to be. So let's start with what you don't want to be and work our way to what you want to be. Put your comments in the chat box and we'll have so much fun when we have our discussion. So these spies immediately found that there was opposition to their goals. But that wasn't enough. The only thing that would have been good was for them to understand why they were there. A clear vision, a promise that this was already given to you. But what they found was opposition. When they came back, they made some comments, very curious comments. They said, on the land were giants. Okay, yes. So sometimes you look at your problems and they look really big. That doesn't mean they're giants. But within that group of people, of spies, were different mindsets. Joshua had a different mindset too, and he was part of the spies. He said, yes, I acknowledge that there were people there. Yes, there were big people, but I also believe that we can take it. I want you to think about that for a second. Not only did they think that there was people on the land, they felt that there was opposition. Then they said something curious. They said, they were so big, we looked like grasshoppers in our own eyes. How could you look like a grasshopper in your eyes? How could you possibly think about how the other people were viewing you? On the journey to your dreams, you're going to have self-doubt. You're going to have self-awareness is good, but self-doubt is going to happen. It's okay to have the doubt, but you need to quickly correct yourself because sometimes they're not always true. You have to change the way you think. So to take the first step, it's not going to be easy. You have to look in the mirror. You have to acknowledge that you need to learn. You have to be humble. You have to create opportunities and go for it. It's going to be hard work, but it can be done. Taking the first step towards your dreams is the best gift that you can give yourself. So as we wrap up this afternoon for a discussion, I want you to write in your journal what you want to do. Example, I'd like to be a businesswoman. What I'd like to see you do if you want to be a businesswoman is to start thinking about the first steps. If I want to be a businesswoman, I need to know how to deal with money. I need to know how to deal with customers. Those are your first steps. So now I'm going to take it over to the discussion, and I want us to begin to think about what we could possibly do to take the first step. Well, it's Adebisi here, and I'm so glad I can share this with you. I'll speak to you in the class. Bye for now.